I feel like it has been a while since we've seen the bombs. I think the one I had yesterday was Berna or Samaria, one of the two. Oh, no, it didn't. It was Berna, but there was a sword Link's house, so it didn't matter.
Whereas I've had Burna multiple times on commentary now. They're off. First time is 20 roops.
And it looks like starting out, we already have a map check with Pendant Eastern Palace and
Red Crystal Desert.
Red Crystal Desert, as well as a crystal at Taravera.
So both of us are going to go get their random weapon for the seed start. Could be, I believe, one of 7 things, and it looks like it's Fire Rod this time.
Fire Rod plus a full magic refill. Now, Fire Rod it's nice because of the insta-kill, and you're going to see from both these players are going to be trying to farm. So, oh, wow. Really early boots. Less than a minute in.
That also means no need to farm bombs for the back of escape, because they can just bump into the wall.
Exactly. I didn't even get a chance to finish my statement before they already proved it wrong. And we already saw over on Kova's side 2 red rupee drops, so these green guards are going to be dropping. We might be seeing a lot of red rupees this seed.
Yeah, we might be. So the Fire Rod is probably going to make most of this painless, just because, again, it kills most enemies in one hit, including the ball and chain guard on the bottom floor.
And we got flippers.
So both sets of footwear immediately.
And unfortunately, sometimes players like to do the flipperless Houlihan right off the bat after escape. But of course, with flippers in hand, that's going to be impossible to do that one.
Yes, unfortunately, that does mean that that general way of doing Houlihan is out of the window. But some runners do opt later when they have gloves to use a bomb and bomb themselves basically into the drop back into escape to get into Houlihan that way as a wrong warp.
And of course, for those listening, Houlihan is a fancy little thing that the game does where if you, I believe if you mess with the camera placement in the overworld and fall into, or enter a cave, it doesn't know what to do with you, so it puts you in this safety cave that has 225 rupees in it, and players often use that to farm rupees at the beginning of the game so that they have money for Zora or for buying bombs in Kakariko. I think it's a rare sight to see for V29. You don't see players go for it that often.
Yeah, I haven't seen it much this particular version.
Only 10 arrows in Zelda's chest, so now we make the long trek back to where we started in Hyrule Castle, and then a quick trip through the sewers. Kova a little low on magic, so gonna have to be careful. Fortunately, though, there are extra magic drops within the sewer section. I believe there are 4 separate pots that contain a small magic refill, so players should be able to, if they know about it, can pick up some magic along the way.
Yes, and fortunately, if they don't end up finding the magic and end up running out of magic, this version did get hotfixed to have a handy little feature where if you save, quit while in escape with one of these limited ammo items like these, you'll get a little bit back at a little checkpoint in escape.
Yeah, there's 3 different checkpoints, I believe. One at Uncle, and then one at Zelda Cell once you've acquired Zelda, and then one here at the mantle after you've entered it.
Yeah, it's right here in this room, or the room after it even.
Which matches up with the vanilla game as well. Yeah, those 2 pots we just saw on the left there that Kova passed, I think the bottom one has a small magic refill. If there's any ones I usually pick along the way, it's the one before going downstairs that has a nice heart in it.
Alright, no small key yet means it's right here in this particular chest, because they need it to move forward. And both runners down to a single heart.
Yeah, fortunately there's not that many hard-hitting enemies coming up. but you know, 4 good hits from a rat would be enough to put you down.
Yeah, unfortunately, no need to use the bomb, fortunately, by Zaphod, because that bomb would kill him if it did accidentally hit him.
We did see Zaphod pick up one of those small magic decanters to get a little bit magic back.
There's also, fortunately, some health in here.
And there are your bombs. How convenient.
Yep. And there are some hearts under those pots. Kova just didn't think he needed them. And yeah, conveniently, those 3 bombs right where they are. Those are the exact number of bombs you need for Kakariko Village's checks. Now, did we find the map yet?
We'll find out.
Okay, it was one of the chests down in the lower portion I must have missed. I wasn't sure if they could skip this or not. Given it was 20 rupees, they probably could have, but better safe than sorry. And with the boost, they can immediately check Bonk Rocks.
Yeah, that'll be the nice thing is, oh, nice. Got a bottle already, which is going to make our route through Kakariko even more efficient. And with boots this early, routing through like all the overworld and stuff, well, just the amount of time saved throughout the entire run is going to be very handy, as well as a few extra checks along the way, such as like the library.
I will say the good or bad thing about that particular ball is, well, first off, that's an awesome tree pole. But that particular ball has a fairy in it, and both our runners are very low on health. They may end up wasting that fairy. And that is a piece of heart on Lumberjack Cave, so we will not need to go for Aga for that, at least.
I've noticed it a lot of times. This is pretty much the standard route. You go west, you go through Lost Woods, you go through Kakariko, and you come out, check library, check maze race, and then save and quit. Unless we find like a flute or something that allow you to route differently or not have to save and quit.
Yeah, this is just like, not only is it the route that everybody seems to take, it just feels like it has the best like item efficiency checks early on. Zaphod unfortunately did end up having to spend that fairy already. The flip side to that is he won't have to worry about it when trying to do a Death Warp later.
Kova taking an interesting route to get through the Lost Woods.
Narrowly managing to dodge the thief before I could knock any stuff out of him. And now for the usual beginning checks of the game in Kakariko Village. It's pretty much like impossible for anybody to ignore Kakariko due to the fact that it has, well, typically like 13 items potentially you can check.
There's a lot of them. And a lot of times, Kakariko is pretty stacked, holding several items, such as like a sword, or a mail upgrade, or maybe a glove, or nothing.
Yeah. Rarely it does have nothing, but it typically does because it's a Spear 1 location that doesn't require anything to reach, other than your basic equipment.
Alright, what do we got coming up in the Bomb of the Well? Seems like nothing so far of the two, like... Oh, a blue boomerang! I mean, we gotta start there.
Flute's
Much better. So we already got bottle, we already got flute. Those are the two of the... Oh, and an ice rod. Didn't even notice the first item was the ice rod in Bomb of the Well. So that kind of already confirms that T-Rock is going to be a pendant, right?
Yeah, potentially. Usually when you find rods this early, it usually means T-Rock is not even remotely on the table. Or that it's very important that you should go there almost as soon as you can. It's one of the two.
Well, with Flute in hand, they can get up to Death Mountain, but they can't really do too much up there aside from maybe a sequence break. So I would assume maybe finishing out the Light World first, or finishing out South Shore. I always like to go up to, or go to Sahasrara before making the Death Mountain dive, but then you have to decide on, do I also go to Eastern?
Yeah, right now Death Mountain is a very low output location. They can't really check much there.
Yeah,
Now,
shout out to Zaphod selling that golden bee to the bottle vendor for a cool 100 rupees.
yeah, I was about to mention that. It's not something you often see runners do, and that's typically because there's not often a good time to sell him that bee. But just so happens that they had a good opportunity here, and it nets the money they need.
Yeah, if you're ever in need of money quickly, and you don't have the glove, I'd say, but you have, for whatever reason, the bottle and the bug net, you can also go to, there's a cave right beside Ice Rod Cave that has, it's a little fairy fountain, it's got 2 fairies in it and a statue. If you bonk that statue, so you need boots too, it'll drop a golden bee. You can grab that bee and then go sell it and do it over and over again. It's a little slow, but if it somehow works out that you can do that, highly recommend. No, don't do that. It's a terrible idea.
Well, 50 rupees on top of the bookshelf. Why not grab them? You have the boots.
And we're still looking for that Zora money in case Zora ends up holding something other than just life lessons.
Yeah, but this is something else I've been seeing runners do a lot recently. It's just doing race games straight up and not checking it.
I think it's even a better idea. Add another bottle. That makes it 3. 2 Bs.
Yep.
I guess it doesn't really matter because you could still flute away or save and quit regardless. The only downside is having to spare a bomb usage, but with boots in hand, you can just bonk it, so they'll still have plenty of bombs to use for Mini Moldorm Cave. But they do have a fire rod. Ooh, but no magic.
Yeah, they don't have much magic after escape. And none of the tree poles indicated much, nor did any enemy drops, so there's a good chance they will have to use bombs in the Mini Moldorm Cave.
All right, let's see what our soggy weapon or item is going to be. It's going to be a soggy shield. Kova46 decided, nah, I don't like that. I don't want it.
Yeah, a lot of runners opt to not take shields because they tend to add a little bit of lag, and that can eat into time a little bit. It's not much as far as I'm aware, but runners have preferences in this particular instance. Kova going with the B.
And that is one effective way to do it.
Yep, beautiful.
And probably a lot quicker to do it that way than to do bomb strats.
Yeah. Speaking of bombs.
And another bee!
Wow!
Wow, 4 bottles, 13.5 minutes in, 3 of which were bees, 1 was a fairy, which is pretty much a bee.
That is a lot of bees.
Alright, where are you off to next, Kova? Oh, nice. I like this. Taking a shortcut to get over to Ice Rod Cave. It only
perfect sense.
It only saves you. Like, even with boots, though, it still saves you a couple seconds.
Yeah, it's just more convenient to do this. And sometimes runners who find fluke can even choose to put this off till later, but it's usually not smart. What's also not smart is bumping into crabs. Those things hurt.
With an early flute, I would even maybe check Agana's Cave early as well, just because that's one of those locations that people tend to put off forever.
Yeah, there's incentive for it. But with that 300 rupee acquisition, Zora is the immediate priority.
And that synchronized exit of the cave. Yeah, exactly 500 rupees. Just the amount you need. And Zora is in play because of the flippers in hand.
Yep, so the path that Kova is going to take here through the whirlpool is the one that the game would intend you to take through logic. But probably gonna check Hobo and the island prior to doing so.
Now, we didn't get to see it on Kova's end, but we'll see if Zaphod utilizes... one of the cool things you can do with early boots is set up that fancy water walk from these caves, from Ice Rock Cave, or Mini Moldorm Cave.
Yes, that is something.
It looks like he is going to go ahead and set it up. I don't know how it works. I'm not even going to try and explain it because I don't know. But essentially, if you line up against this edge here and dash straight down without touching left or right, and you can tell that it is activated by the ability to walk down that ladder as if you're, walking at a normal speed.
But he got tagged by a crab, so I'm not sure if it's still active.
I believe it still is active. That was
okay.
It was a myth.
Wasn't sure how that worked. This is not something I see frequently.
Yeah, the only things that you can't do are bonk, take damage whilst you're water walking, and screw up a fake flipper. I think those are the three main ones. Of course, and save and quit. It doesn't, or you can't go over the...
I mean, he was gonna have to at this point anyways, because he has to come up for the hobo.
So. Oh, and we got the mirror. Well then.
Pretty good find.
Well, here's the problem. That gets you up to Tower of Hera. And we do have a fire rod to get to the basement if it's basement required, but...
We can't kill Moldor.
Yes, exactly. Without a weapon, it's not going to be the most effective option unless we find a hammer or a sword in Tower of Hera, which is highly possible.
I believe that was the single arrow on the ledge, by the way.
Glad to get that one out of the way. I think if I were these players, I would still go ahead and check at least Sahasrara before heading up.
Yeah, Eastern has a lot more items. 500 rupees for 1 heart.
I want to give a quick shout out to Stigma of the Rose for the hot 250 bits. Appreciate it. All right, well, after Zora, this could be a bit of a difference maker, depending on how these players route. Kova's going to go ahead and check. Desert Ledge, only a big 20, and we'll see what's over at Agana's Cave. Let's see if Zaphod decides to follow suit, or heads on over to Eastern, or just bails on up to Eastern, or up to Death Mountain.
Yeah, you're basically making the call between 4 or 5 items on Death Mountain, depending on whether or not you break sequence, versus the 6 items you can probably get in Eastern. Agina appears to have been a bust. Zaphod looks like he's going Eastern.
I was wondering why he didn't just flute right away, but decided he wanted to check the stun prize, only a heart, which is still good to know because these players are still on green mail and less than 10 hearts, so death is imminent. Of course, we're still in the light world, so we're still pretty comfy right now.
Both of us checking Eastern. What's weird, by the way, is whether or not we're doing Agina or Dark World is very unclear because of the items we have. And that red boomerang and Cane of Burna doesn't help at all in terms of determining which is actually happening first.
Green Pendant Ice Palace. It's Well, that's 2 of the pendants that we know about. Of course, we'll find out the other one once we get to the Dark World. I don't know if it's really worth talking to Sahasrara at this point. Maybe if this was Key Sanity still, but getting that information out there early, you can start planning ahead maybe.
Yeah, sometimes it's good information, not to mention if you do have 2 pendants in the light world, it may not be a bad idea to figure out where the green one is if it's the one missing.
Alright, so it's going to be interesting to see what we find in Eastern Palace. This could easily be something like sword in first chest or hammer in first chest to go up to Death Mountain to,
True.
Do Hera, or just to get to East Death Mountain.
Like that.
Alright, there we go. There's your weapon and hammer to get to East Death Mountain.
Now Death Mountain is next step after this dungeon.
Alright, well, the hardest part now is, do you keep going or do you bail? You just unlocked a bunch of stuff up on Death Mountain, but there could still be a moon pearl or, you know, a glove or something else in this dungeon. Of course, at the same time, you know, without a lamp, you're kind of limited to one chest in here, and of course, without the bow, you're limited to finishing it.
Well, it's a pendant, so they're not entirely concerned about finishing it. But you also don't want to make more than one trip here, especially if you're just checking the items right now, because you can get everything except Armos on this first pass if you do the Dark Room.
Yeah, that's true. With it being a pendant, I feel like going ahead and clearing as much of it as you can is the best idea, because you may never have to come back here ever again if it turns out that Armos is not holding an item or the pedestal is dead. That's item number 2. We might get all 3 items right off the bat.
Yep, it's in the big chest here. Otherwise, it could be in the Dark Room. But let's see. Silver arrows. Yep, they're done here.
Well, that was definitely worth it.
Oh, easily. And they don't even have to save quit. They can just mirror out and float back up the mountain.
So at this point, Eastern Palace, unless we have to get the pedestal item, is 100% complete. You don't have to worry about coming back there ever again.
They don't even have to worry about grabbing the big key because they found it already. If it does have to be cleared.
Yeah. Being able to skip that dark room is really nice, so. Now, this makes me wonder where exactly that lamp is going to be.
Yeah.
I'm anticipating like a Mimic Cave lamp at this point, or a T-Rock lamp.
Now, one thing that is somewhat difficult with certain dark rooms is a lot of the times when runners do dark rooms, they are used to having their sword. It's easiest to see what you're doing and progress through them naturally with a sword. So when you don't have that, you have to improvise, and you see both runners actually using different strategies here. Zaphod using the boomerang, trying to determine distance from walls, and Kova using the hammer as kind of a guiding stepping point.
Yeah, it's always nice to have that little sparkly trail following behind you. Or if you have like Cane of Samaria, you can just pick up a block and carry that along the way.
Yep.
We've actually seen a few players in this tournament essentially get stuck in this room because, of course, once you acquire the old man, you can't get out of here until you actually get out of there. If you save and quit or take a death, it will put you right back at where you got the old man. So it's a pretty big commitment.
I did not actually know that, so that's kind of interesting. And I believe that was just money inside the Spectacle Rock. It flashed on screen so quickly. Alright, Pendant Skull, which means we do have to do Turtle Rock, and Pod is the other red crystal.
Well, with both Meyer and T-Rock required, we need a lot of items this game.
We do. Surprisingly, if T-Rock was like the third pendant instead of Eastern, this could have been a not Fire Rod required seed, which is very rare.
Yeah, it's always fun when you get those seeds that you go into G-Tower without the Fire Rod or the Samaria. There's a shovel in Tower of Hera, on an unrelated note. And then, of course, like, you're curious if that big key's going to be on the right side or not.
Yeah. And no basement trip yet. Zaphod is hoping to keep it that way.
Yeah, it's a pain. You always want the small key or a dungeon item to be locked in the basement, so you never have to go back down there, because it's a bit of a time waste waiting for the tiles to fall. Of course, unless you enjoy having a nice little coffee break.
Coffee or bathroom, take your pick.
Take your pick. But both players will be finishing this dungeon and acquiring their first crystal. Glad to get one on the board around the 25-minute marker. And Zappa going to be going for this bomb jump. He's played it very safe. Oh, dang it! You gotta be careful.
It's one of the best bomb jumps to save time, but it is one of the most costly to fail.
Oh yeah, for sure. Because much like the middle hole at Moldorn 2, if you fall down two floors and have to walk all the way back up. And especially annoying in this one because, as you saw with Zaphod, puts you on the other side of that switch. So you either got to hit the switch or mirror out. It's kind of a pain. And Kova's got to be a little bit careful. I think Kova still has that fairy in a bottle, but...
Yeah, I believe he does.
You know, early boots are nice, but if you don't have a hammer, it kind of makes things a little complicated since you can't dash through enemies as conveniently.
And we're gonna see what was in that big chest now. Alright, they don't have to go to the basement.
All that for a big 20. That's frustrating to see.
So yeah, Hera's only thing it gave us was a fetch quest. And I doubt we'll see that anytime soon.
Yeah, with the mirror in hand, we'll likely wait and see it routed in with a stumpy check. You know, a lot of players like to go like Hype Cave west to the digging game. Of course, we're still missing 2 items. We're still missing a glove and a moon pearl.
Yeah, so those items do need to be found before we can even access the Dark World.
But we do have Paradox Cave, Spiral Cave. There's a good chance, we got a lot of chests coming up on East Death Mountain. There's a good chance we'll find at least 1 or 2 of those items.
Yeah, or at the very least, items for the other sequence that the runners aren't hoping to see being Agadim.
Yeah, for that to happen, we'd need to see at least a sword, 2 swords or a cape, and the lamp.
Yeah, we're missing all of those currently. Zaphod unfortunately getting trolled by Trolldorm, I believe, on the last hammer strike he needed.
Is this going to be one of those 2-hour sword seeds? It's highly possible.
It is entirely possible. Well, Boots makes Spiral Cave a lot better, thankfully.
And getting some very favorable RNG from the enemies to get out of their way.
Yeah,
for the most part.
We're cooperative. Oh,
no.
got knocked off again.
Dude, he got gunned down. He got chased. That was terrifying.
Wow. Oh no, that was the restream. Whoops.
Someone in chat asks, "Do you need a sword to item dash?" Yes, but you can still dash in general.
You can still do the animation, but nothing will actually strike, I believe, without the sword in hand.
Yeah, you can't dash through enemies, and you can't dash through like pegs with the hammer unless you have the sword.
I'm still not finding much. These are the last 5 items you can actually get currently on the mountain.
Yeah, what do you do after this if this ends up being a bust? I can't imagine it being a bust. We're kind of out of items. Unless the next thing we find is going to be like book glove to go to desert. There's the glove.
There's the glove.
Come on. Do that thing I just said. Ooh, alright. Well,
what does the glove on its own open, though?
Nothing. Kova having a good hard think.
Yeah, it can't be Spike Cave because they don't have the Moon Pearl, so that's off the table.
Yeah, so it's got to be Shovel then. Shovel for Moon Pearl to get to the Dark World.
Yeah, it has to be the shovel.
Or it could be one of my favorite things, Mitts at Shovel. And what makes it my favorite thing is then you flute over to the Mire area to get the Moon Pearl at Checkerboard Cave.
That could also be a King's Tomb, technically.
That's true as well.
But they do need those
fine
gloves.
with both.
But,
yeah, I believe this is the last item.
I believe this is all they have left, so... So much for saving that shovel.
Right? And a nice use of Burna from Zaphod there. Those red Tektites will actually do 2 hearts of damage, so that would have been a dead Luigi on Death Mountain, which is not very fun when you don't have the hookshot.
Yeah, Luigi would not have been happy with that. Yep, there's that Moon Pearl.
Alright, well, what's next? Where do you like to go? What if you get Dark World access, where do you like to go? I personally like to go Hype Cave first.
It usually depends on the method of which I've given access to Dark World, and when given the hammer and glove start, typically Hype Cave is where you would start.
Alright, well then, with that, do you go east to check, Pyramid Catfish, or do you go west to Digging Game?
I would go west.
West to Digging Game. Well, I would also go west just because mirror in hand, you're allowed to check Circle of Bushes as well. And then after Digging Game, if they want, they can mirror again, go up, and then enter through Village of Outcasts.
Yeah, there's a few different ways to route this, and interestingly, with flippers too, they can even, from the top, route their way over towards Catfish.
All right, let's see what kind of hype we're going to get up in Hype Cave. Come on, give us something. So far, rupees. So far, rupees. A blue mail. And there's that book.
There's that book we were talking about.
Just a couple caves shy. Well, that's interesting. Book in hand, I feel like you just ignore it for now.
Yeah, for now, I would ignore that, especially since you are just missing mitts to be able to combo, like, the Mire Desert area at the very least. Can't clear Mire out, per se, but you can at least combo the two dungeons together in terms of check.
No, it looks like Kova's just going to follow that chain, going to go check and see what is on the Bombos tablet. Can't get the item, but we'll have that information. And then might just go right into Desert Palace. They have the means to complete it. It's just going to be a Fire Rod, maybe Hammerland Molas.
Yeah. Just Couch Cash.
Alright, this looks like just a Bombos check.
Yep, gonna be moving somewhere else now.
The book is one of the more frustrating items in the game, just because far often than not, it's just a red herring. It sends you on a wild goose chase, checking those two tablets for nothing. There is the rare occasion where book leads to Titan mitts in desert. That's always a fun one, or flute in desert.
True. And sometimes it's to read whatever's on PED, but you don't always get it to read what's on PED.
But once they find a sword, they would be able to check Skull Woods and maybe check Pedestal as well. But of course, it is a pendant. There's another shield that our players get to skip, since it's another one of those on-the-ground items that are visible.
Yep. The only time you can't skip a shield is if it's in a chest or in the possession of a boss. And Stumpy, more bombs. And we have not gotten much in terms of, big stuff.
Yeah. So as of right now, our players, by logic, still need the lamp. They, of course, need the bow. They need at least 2 swords, hookshot, Cane of Samaria, and the mitts, and then
Medallions.
1 to 2 medallions. So we're
a ways from finishing.
Yeah, we're 30 minutes in, so this seems pretty normal.
I think the most frustrating thing is you're basically 3 items from being told go check the pedestal. Because you just need a sword and the bow, which you can't ignore.
Mm-hmm.
And you need Titan Smiths, which you also can't ignore. So, PED very possible this particular run. And maybe when someone goes to Dark World, they'll consider checking it quickly. Or maybe when looking in Skull, since we have most of the means to check through it.
Yeah, we might see a check from Kova's side just because they went out of their way to check Bombos. They'd likely to be the type to go ahead and check that one as well.
Yeah. And Zaphod using the mirror and fluting instead of doing the save quit that Kova did. Save a little bit of time there. Alright, looks like for now Kova's just going to go for the Dark Portal, as is Zaphod. Again, maybe during a check of Skull. They can at least get to the back, they just can't kill Moth without a sword.
Nice game knowledge there to bonk that tree that always drops a full magic refill to get you up to full.
Which it looks like Zaphod did need at least a little bit.
Yeah, that's so frustrating. If you just had a sword, you could just dash through all those bushes, but without a sword, you got to pick each one of them up individually. Another thing you could do is toss a bomb, which will blow up some of them. But not many people do that. Seems not worth the menu. But two different routes. We got Kova going up into Pendant Skull Woods. There are 2 items in here. And Zaphod going to be checking out Village of Outcasts, so...
Yep, and then probably dipping into Thieves Town for its 4 items.
Could see a hammer-only Thieves Town, or very good chance we might find our first sword in there.
Oh, Kova found the big key, so that's going to be his next check in this dungeon. With Kane and Burn It, though, they can at least fight blind with that instead of having to use the hammer if they're so inclined. Yeah, a lot on the plate as we discuss. This is far from anywhere close to done, but Kova having a little bit of issues setting up his bomb jump here. That one looks good.
Just there's one of you.
Now, I hope he remembers he still has that fairy and doesn't try to death warp here, and it looks like he does.
I think if I was playing this seed, I probably would have waited on the Skullwoods check until... Or did he already get to both items?
He got 1 item.
Okay. I would have waited until I at least had a sword, just in case Mothula ends up having an item. But then, who knows when we'll get our first sword, and if something of value was in the front half of Skullwoods, and I waited forever to go check it. But Kova gonna go ahead and knock out these kind of out-of-the-way locations, King's Tomb and Graveyard Ledge. Okay, that was a little dicey, getting past that Hinox.
I think he still has a fairy, so he should be okay. But, yeah. We'd rather not take a spill of any kind if we can help it. Bombs to Mirror is not a very good setup, this particular item set. Some menus are bad, they just have to go right twice, thankfully, for that little shortcut, but it's kind of out of the way otherwise. Zaphod, meanwhile, is going to be making his way to the back of Thieves Town, having found, I believe, just 1 item in the front.
Just taking a friendly stroll through the Hellway, no big deal. See what we got going on in King's Tomb. It is... Wow.
Wow. Some king, nobody knew his name.
Right? That's just disrespectful at this point.
Alright, now does Kova continue? No, he decides to turn back at this point. By logic, you could have decided to go to the right over the Catfish and maybe route his way over to Pod, but without the bow, Pod is not as tempting a dip.
Yeah, the only problem about that, because the thing is, when are you going to do Catfish at this point? The only downside is you'd have to, give up. You'd have to re-wrap back around to get to the Dark World from Village of Outcasts, which is kind of a lengthier process. But who knows? What if Catfish had the mitts or something?
Yeah.
Those out-of-the-way locations are kind of obnoxious because it's like, if you don't do it now, when will you do it? Either you do it now or you do it never, unless it's like your last option.
Yeah. Alright, so Zaphod has not found the key yet. Ooh. And it looks like it locked itself in the chest as he finds the bow.
And Eastern Palace, not really a thing, but that opens up a good chunk of pot. Of course, without that lamp, by logic, you could only do a bit of it, but who knows? We could find the lamp in Palace of Darkness. That's highly possible.
Yeah, I have definitely found lamp in pot a couple of times. On the bow locked side, no less. Alright, so when Zaphod's stream catches up with him, he will probably be fighting blind or potentially even through blind. Blind's not the worst fight in the world since he tends to go off a fairly scripted pattern.
Yeah, and if you want to use Burna as well, you can do it safely. Oh, I didn't even realize that was Sankheart.
Yeah, I definitely missed that.
It's hard to notice when you don't have audio on for that player when they find it, so.
Yep.
Oh, wow!
Oh, there's a sword.
Oh, Thieves Town. Coming in clutch.
Yep, Beasttown paying out pretty big there with a bow and a sword.
So I wonder, since Zaphod has already done all this out, he did digging game and all that stuff, right? I don't remember. One of the players did.
Yes, I believe he did take the same path as Kova.
But,
Because when he was done with dig game, he mirrored and fluted.
right. But now he'll be able to do even more of Skullwoods, and who knows, the game could be like, hey, you just got a sword, now go fight Mothula. And he's holding whatever your next progression item is. And especially with how slow these items have been trickling in, there's a very good chance that the second item here could be our next progression.
Yeah, it's been a fairly stingy seed so far. Especially given we need a lot of items to finish this seed. Like, all the pendant dungeon items are like dungeon items you need to finish a seed anyways.
I get the feeling, whether we actually get the pedestal item or not, it's probably going to be an all dungeon seed. Where we at least have to visit all the dungeons. May not complete them, but...
Yeah, I'm getting that intuition too. I get the feeling that there's going to be something in Ice Palace as well.
I mean, at this rate, there's no way we're going to get, like, a Go mode Titan Mitts or something. But you never know.
So we're retreading some similar ground here, though. Zaphod is about to tread some new ground in the back portion of Skullwoods. Because Kova did not opt to check this particular item, which, when you don't have the cane, and frankly, just if you don't think this item's going to be worth your time, it is typically fine skipping it and saving it for later.
Yeah, I think the sword, having the sword kind of makes this routing look a little bit better, because he does have the first item, so if this doesn't end up being the second item, he can just, bail on out of here. But since it's not, that's going to put an item either at the first chest in the back half or actually at Mothula. And with how this seed is playing out, I'm anticipating Mothula having something, which is going to be just great. Fighter Sword, Fire Rod. I mean, they do have the hammer, but Hammer Moth is not really the easiest. Maybe we'll see some B strats.
Yeah, this is not an ideal toolkit for Moth, and the B is entirely a possibility as well. I'm a little surprised Zaphod chose not to mirror out of that room. It could have saved him a little bit of time. And he's going to opt to check this item down here before Moth. Makes perfect sense since he does have the mirror to get directly back to the entrance. Kova, meanwhile, doing blind. As a note, it doesn't actually matter what weapons you use on blind. They all do the same damage. He takes 9 hits from whatever weapon you use, so long as it actually damages him.
Yeah, the only weapons that can actually do damage to blind are both of the canes, Samaria and Berna, any sword, and the hammer. And
also, I completely missed what the item was before Moth.
It was a compass, which makes Mothula holding an item. So this is going to be interesting. Interesting play from both these players. The thing is, will Kova make this play back to Moth or not?
Yeah. I also imagine, even though it's not like, on the table fully, Zaphod should probably check Ped, just so he knows when he gets mitts whether or not he needs to bother with Ice Palace.
Yeah, or if when he goes and does Pod, if he needs to mirror and finish Eastern too.
Yeah, there's valid reasoning for checking it right now. That makes the remaining routing better and more efficient.
It looks like Kova's going to be opting to instead go over to Palace of Darkness. We might be seeing some dark rooms from them. And let's see how this Mothula fight goes. Giving us some good patterns so far, hugging the center of the room. But, of course, now hugging the top, which, as we all know, Mothula is a little broken. Oh, nice weight there to make sure that Mothula is in front of that block so that Fire Rod actually connected. I think it connected. And we do see some gold B strats coming out. Same rules apply, though. So if the B hits Mothula into the spikes, it doesn't actually do anything. But, wow, B coming in clutch, killing off Moth. Let's see what we get.
Hey, rupees. And the pendant. And getting that mirror out, Zayfod is probably going to check head and then just flute after he checks it.
You know, I gotta say that was pretty good. You know, you didn't get anything out of it, but you didn't take a death or have to come back here and try again. And now having that knowledge that Skullwoods is actually done, while Kova is going to be wondering about that second item. Oh wow, and Pod actually 100% bow locked.
Yep, they needed the bow. All right, and we're also getting our ped check.
Oh, that is huge. Another hook shot on the pedestal. So when Zayfod makes their way over to Pod, they are going to be going right back into Eastern, taking out Armos Knights. That's huge.
Now, what's interesting is, what does that mean for the Ice Palace routing? Because if you don't have hookshot, there's one room that you kind of have to avoid in terms of the logic of the seed.
Well,
So,
I think likely that would have to put like a small key in the first chest, or at least in like the double freezer room. You have to at least get a small key there, the double freezer room, the big chest if you get the big key elsewhere, and or in the T room. Since if you don't do the bomb jump, those are the chests that are available to you.
yeah.
Regardless, so.
Yeah, this is pretty big for Zayfod, and Kova's going to be wondering about this for a while and not have an actual answer. We'll see whether or not he even decides to do Eastern while he's over here.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. It all came down to difference of routing, since Kova did Skullwoods before going into Thieves Town. Didn't have a sword, so decided to not continue looking in there. And to Kova, there's only 3 chests left, and one of them holding an item. But who knows? You know, maybe later on down the line, Kova might opt to just go ahead and check the pedestal at some point if they're not finding items.
Well, I guess the question now becomes, do you do Ice Palace as soon as you find Titan's Mitts, or as soon as you think the hookshot is relevant?
Well, the hookshot has its only functionality is for Hookshot Cave and for clearing swamp and for, you know, checking a few chests and, you know, beating the game, like finishing G Tower. It does have some use, but
yeah, I guess it just comes down to how badly do you think like Samaria or a Medallion is in like Swamp Palace or Hookshot Cave.
Yeah. Because at this rate, I could easily see that Hookshot being our go mode item.
Yeah, it is.
But at the same time, you know, I'm waiting for Mitts to be in the first half of Swamp.
Oh, that would suck.
That would. The only problem is if you do find Mitts, how do you feel about doing Fighter Sword, Hammer, Cold Stare? That's the real question.
That is also true.
They do have 4 bottles and some rupees to spare, so they can, of course, pick up as much safeties as they need for that fight.
We are getting a catfish check here. Just some rupes. See if I can probably go to pod now. Or he's gonna actually go into desert.
I don't remember if Zayfod actually checked Agnes Cave. I know Kova did.
I don't actually remember if he has. Also, Kova ended up finding the last shield in the chest.
Nice try, though. Ooh, I really do not like doing this dark room from the key door. If I ever do this dark room in pod, it's always from a hammer jump.
Yeah, that's typically how I would end up routing it too. This is one of the hardest dark rooms probably to navigate, especially if you aren't familiar with the maze-like layout of this room.
Yeah, it's harder in a different way than some of the other dark rooms, just because of how annoying it is to get through this maze. You're not really like worried about dying too much, though the Kodongos can kind of bully you a bit. But like compared to a turtle room downstairs or the Mire dark room, That one's pretty safe, just kind of annoying.
Oh, Kova navigated it pretty nicely, so...
I didn't actually see what the top left chest was. In the
There's just
base.
20... And I didn't actually see if a key was on Torch in Desert. But I know the big key was on right side, so either the small key was in the small chest or on the Torch. It was in the small chest. It was the map on the Torch.
Alright, so after Pod and after Desert, assuming we don't find anything, what do we have left? Looks like Landmills is going to be holding the second item. I don't actually know if... I'm assuming Helma's holding the second item. I think we've seen both Map and Compass. Or not second item, last item. Fifth item.
Yeah. The second item for Desert, I believe, is on Lambos, though. I don't think the big chest had anything.
We have...
I think it's just Swamp, because... Well, Spike Cave, I think, is technically in Logic, too.
Yeah, Ether Check, Spike Cave... Yeah, we're kind of running out of things to do. Maybe I'll get those Titan Mitts in Swamp that I wanted.
Yeah, you might. You just might, which would force a double dip into Swamp. Which, Zaphon in particular will probably be hesitant to do because he knows that he can't complete Swamp. He knows where the hookshot is.
Mm-hmm. So that might make him want to check the first half earlier? Nah, that's a stupid thing. No one would ever do that.
No.
Kova, nice turtle room. Using that fire rod to light that torch to make that room a little bit easier. It's kind of hard to do that room with only a fighter sword.
Yeah. We're gonna have near simultaneous boss fights starting here. Zaphon has to wait for this cutscene of the wall moving, but... Near same time, third crystal. Both 5-6 crystals, too, interestingly enough. So I guess Pyramid Fairy is also on the table this particular seed if they clear out these two dungeons that they're both doing right now. Yeah,
the only thing is it's making me wonder where the heck that lamp is.
Yeah, because this is technically a sequence break by Kova. And that's nothing in Desert.
Nice silver arrow shot to finish off Helmstar King. And yeah, both players now moving on. 3 crystals in hand. Of course, quite a few sequence breaks in... Oh, an Ether Medallion. So that is one of the medallions.
That's a pretty good item to find right about now. And Zaphon is going to go check again now.
Yeah, and I believe that only had a big 20. So, at this point, I mean... Swamp? Swamp or Spike? Take your pick.
Yeah, take your pick on them both. And Kova, are you doing Eastern? That's the next question. No. That is going to cost him a bit more time later down the line. He's going to have to come back over to this side.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. He did find the mushroom in Pod. That could lead to our next item.
That could too. Was it past dark rooms though, or was it in like the main?
It was the drop-down chest.
Ah, so this item is in Logic. Well, that was
10
underwhelming.
Arrows, those 10 arrows are sure in Logic. But well, he doesn't have the Cane of Samurai, so he's gonna do that. Whatever. All right. Well then, Kova's probably gonna swap places with Zaphod and
yep,
go straight into Desert, which we already know has nothing but a crystal. But 5 and 6, so we might see the Pyramid Fairy sequence break. But who knows? That lamp could just be sitting in Swamp Palace.
Yeah, the lamp at this point may have to be. Well, doesn't have to be. Swamp Palace is where it could be, though.
Which I think of all the sequence breaks, like the lamp sequence breaks are pretty safe to make, since in this particular seed you can, well, since you can generally finish a seed without ever needing the lamp, compared to like flipper sequence breaks.
Yeah. By technicality, because there are 4 dungeons that require lamp, a seed will never be genned in which you never find lamp. But you have instances where if you do darkroom navigation frequently enough, you will never need the lamp, and you will never end up finding it typically as well.
Yeah, so if we see something at Pyramid Fairy, then we know for sure that the lamp has to be available. It would basically have to be in Swamp, I think.
Well, especially if the mitts end up being what we find in the Pyramid Fairy.
Mitts at this point would be pretty much the only progression item that actually opens anything up, I think.
Yeah, I think it has to be Mitts or a fetch quest item or bust.
I mean, it could be like a sword upgrade to check Ether or something like that as well, like the fetch quest you were mentioning.
Yeah.
Will be interesting to see. I am kind of anticipating the Mitts have to be somewhere close, right?
Yeah, they have to be. Like, they're blocking so much.
Exactly. We're kind of running out of things to find.
I suppose another item that they could find that leads them on yet another goose chase is magic powder.
That's true. For the most part, the seed has actually been very linear.
Yeah.
Overall.
Not a lot of branching out we can really do, because even when the runners have decided to go different directions, they've ended up merging back at the point where they're actually supposed to be going.
Yeah, if anything, it's just been like checking a single overall location earlier than the other. That's about it. We haven't really had the chance. I mean, the biggest thing is definitely going to be that ped check by Zaphod and clearing Mothula. I mean, the game could easily require, like... I mean, the game could easily force them to have to do Fighter Sword Mothula, and it's generally not a very... It's not a fun sequence of events.
Yeah, now, Kova, maybe not wanting to check Swamp, may consider going back to Skull, but Swamp has more items, potentially, in it, so he may just go to Swamp.
I kind of hope for his sake he goes to back to Skullwoods, obviously, to
get the ped check.
Get that ped check. If he ends up doing Swamp and finds the Mitts there, that's going to lead him everywhere else that isn't, you know, to get the hook shot. And which will allow Zaphod more than likely to find exactly what he needs earlier and potentially go mode more dungeons.
Ooh, Kova missed a lot of fire rod shots. He's going to have to finish this fight off with either the hammer or the... Oh, I guess he has silver arrows. I guess he just wanted to use the fire rod for efficiency's sake.
Yeah, you really only get one chance to use the silvers per cycle.
Yeah.
As you can only have one arrow out in the field, only one floating arrow out at one time. You have to either wait till it hits an enemy or hits the wall before you can fire another one. So if you miss the first land mola, you're more than likely going to miss the next one. You might be able to get the third one, but...
Well, even if you could have multiple arrows out at the same time, I would wager, even if they are silver arrows, you'd probably not want to fire more than one anyway, so how badly they lag the game.
Oh yes, silver arrows are pretty bad. But this is going to be the pyramid fairy check.
Or that too, right?
So this could be a pretty big sequence break for Kova, which at this point I think is more detrimental than helpful for them. Oh, maybe this is the swamp play. Well, by gosh, I stand wildly corrected.
I mean, until Pyramid Fairy is in logic, it makes sense to wait, although you are in the area regardless. But we know Swamp basically has to have either the lamp or the mist at this point, or some fetch quest item that leads to those.
Yeah, if we don't find progression in here, then... I mean, this could be completely nothing, and it's just sitting in Spike Cave. That's extreme. It's very possible.
This is true. I keep forgetting Spike Cave is in the logic right now.
I feel like this is the higher probability play. And with boots in hand, it doesn't really take as long. The only problem is really the checking the two left side chests, because you have to check one, drop down, go around, check the other.
That and the fire sword is not enough to actually kill these little water skimming enemies in one hit.
Yeah, these players really having to work with less. Still only fighter sword about an hour in.
And that's one of the 6 items in this dungeon. You won't find all of them on this trip. There's guaranteed to be at least one item in the back portion. But, depending, he could find Big Key to check the big chest right now, or he just could find the item he needs. Zaphod making his way over to Helm in the meanwhile, going to be caught up on the crystal count. But knowing this is a pet seed, Kova is a dungeon behind, and since Zaphod will probably do Easter when he's done with Pod, he'll then be 2 dungeons behind.
Alright, coming up on chest number 2. Let's see if this is the answer we're looking for. And Zaphod now heading into the last section of Palace of Darkness. Let's see how his Dark Returnal room is, if he's gonna... Oh, he's just gonna go for Hammer. Alright, now he's got Fire Rod out.
Yeah, if you have the Fire Rod, you may as well just light this room up, because these turtles are a pain to deal with in the dark. And Kova found the big key, so what's in here?
Just a heart piece. Oh, this is getting worse!
Well, the good news about coming into Swamp Palace without the hookshot is it's guaranteed impossible to flood the key.
That's always good. So I don't know how often players flood the key in 2018. I mean, come on. Who does that? I remember when Chris did that. Even top players flood the key, guys. It's very important to know that.
Muscle memory and force of habit can definitely cause that to happen more than one would like.
This is the other problem, is you don't have a long enough sword to easily hit the switch, so you gotta switch to... I see players sometimes use, like, Kena Samaria, or like we saw there with the boomerang.
Yeah, then he's gotta flip the switch back, too.
Yeah, I was getting a little afraid he was gonna walk away without flipping the switch. Zaphod gotta be a little careful here, down to 2 hearts. I don't think he has any safeties or fairies or anything, so... Breaks the shield off.
But he's got Helm right where he wants him.
Nice. Yeah, so if you have silvers, it's nice when you get the tail attack right after breaking it, or whilst breaking his face off, because it gives you plenty of time to switch to silvers and fire one off.
So Zaphod is definitely doing Easter next, because this will be the last trip he has to make into this location without the Ice Palace green pendant. So to knock this out would just be the most convenient timing.
Are you kidding me?
Is it actually Spike Cave?
Good.
It's looking more like it's Spike Cave.
I mean, how long ago did we get Burna? That was in... Where was that?
That was in Sahasrah's hut, wasn't it? That was a while ago.
Yeah.
With the red boomerang.
Of course, we still needed to go... Well, that's the thing. Tower of Hera, shovel, Moon Pearl, then to go back up and check Spike Cave. Like, who does that? Nobody.
Yeah, exactly. There's the lamp! Go check the pyramid, Barry!
Oh my goodness. What a horrible seed.
Wow. I wonder if Zaphod will just go check Pyramid Fairy, and then he's like, okay, the lamp is clearly in Swamp.
Ooh, okay. That was close.
I was actually wondering if he was going to take the death there, but I think he still has that fairy.
Yeah. Alright, well, not what... I mean, I anticipated the possibility of lamp, but that, at least at this point, now puts something at Pyramid Fairy. Like, they have to put something there, right?
With how easily accessible they were, the seed, that this, like, has to be something. I refuse to believe otherwise.
Unless, could you imagine if after all this, it's still nothing, and it was just Spike Cave the whole time?
Talk about, like, the most trolly sequence of events, if that is, and it does end up being the case.
Yeah, the seed has been pretty brutal, for the most part. And definitely people that go for the sequence breaks are going to be rewarded, especially if Zaphod decides to just go ahead and skip checking Swamp and go straight for Pyramid Fairy.
Oh, actually shot left to take care of that Armos prior to the ones up above. That actually ended up working out pretty nicely for him.
Are you talking about at the beginning or the last 3?
With the last 3, shot left and then took the top 2.
Oh,
or
wow.
they could have just been on the pyramid ledge and no one thought to check this before now. Good job, guys. You pulled yourself out of Titan's mitts.
You played yourself. Remember when I talked at the beginning when they first got to the Dark World? I was like, sometimes it's good to go left here, go right here. That's one of those cases where...
Should have gone right.
Should have gone right.
All right, pick your poison. Where are you going now, Kova?
If Zaphod go straight for Pyramid Fairy, he's going to be sitting pretty at this point, and that would immediately unlock Ice Palace,
Yeah.
which I anticipate he would stock up and go do that right away.
Kova forgetting to get out of Dark World before using his flute.
It's a pretty easy mistake to make, much like saving and quitting in Dark World after doing Aga. We are going to get that Mire area check, the checkerboard cave check.
And Zaphod is doing Pyramid Fairy, so he will get those Titan's bits on the pyramid soon enough. Alright, what do we need for Mire? We won't know yet.
I mean, that's one of the things though, is like a lot of times players like to route in Pyramid Fairy with Pyramid. Especially if you get like these early dungeons. So I don't think it was a bad thing. I think it worked out for Zaphod since he didn't die of Swamp, and I think of course the main play of that was because he already knows where Hookshot is.
So Mire is Bombos.
It sure is. So that Ether Medallion not yet coming into play. You know, if I was Zaphod, I would probably just go straight for the Ice Palace play next, because then you can get your hook shot before going up to Death Mountain. So you can check Hookshot Cave and all that stuff. And who knows, maybe Ice Palace is actually holding like Kana Samaria or something like that.
Well, I think he is probably... Well, I guess he did the same thing with the flute as well. I think he'll probably check Mire area first, and when he sees that he can't enter it either, he will probably get the hook shot for efficiency's sake. After, turning in the mushroom. So Kova gotta check what's on Ether. No, he's not. He actually forgot about it. Because we did not have the book the last time we came up here. That is a location that we don't actually know. Oh, getting dead.
That's unfortunate. Thankfully, though, he does have the mirror, so even if he has to enter from the south side, he can still mirror to open up Turtle Rock. But at the same time, like, we don't have Kana Samaria, so Turtle Rock doesn't really... It's not really coming into play quite yet. And
Zaphod, instant beeline to ice.
He knows what he wants.
Yep. Knowing the knowledge he does, this is definitely the play he should be making. Just take out ice real fast, get the green pendant to eventually turn that in, and, well, most importantly, get your hook shot that is resting atop the pedestal so that you can clear Swamp and check Dark Death Mountain for everything it has. Because Kova is very limited on what he can actually check in this area. There's Quake.
Very good chance that... Well, could be double Bombos, you never know.
Yeah, there's a very good chance we can actually get into... we can at least open T-Rock, but, it could still be Bombos. Nope, that one's Ether.
Alright, so Pod leads to T-Rock. Just gotta find... Now, if you do get that Kana Samaria instantly in Hookshot Cave, and that one bonk chest, of course, because that's the only one they're gonna be able to check, do you go for it?
With a Fire Sword, that is a tall order. So is what Zaphod's doing, though, so...
Nothing but tall orders today.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be very inefficient killing the penguins in this particular instance, because he doesn't have the hook shot to deal with them, and he's got a terrible sword for dealing with them. And now we're going to get that Spike Cave check.
Well, let's hope for Kova's sake that there's nothing on that Ether tablet worth acquiring, because it looks like they may never remember to check that.
Yep, they can't get the item on it, but they can at least see what's there.
Maybe we'll get a sword in Spike Cave, and that will trigger his memory.
Perhaps. The thing, too, is he checked Bombo's tablet way earlier, like, before even doing, like, some of the other Dark World locations, so...
Yeah, it was the first thing he did right after Hype Cave was, right after getting the book, he went straight and checked Bombos, so might have put it out of his mind since then.
Yeah.
Especially since he's already used it to do Desert Palace as well.
Zaphod setting up for the bomb jump, does get it on the first pass. Health not in the best of spots, though. So Kova doing ice, but he doesn't know that where the hook shot is still.
Yeah, so for his sake, we need hopefully that he Cold Stare is holding an item. Of course, with it being green pendant, he's likely to kill Cold Stare anyway, but even more likely if Cold Stare is also holding an item, so more to be revealed.
Yeah. See if I did bombs to kill the penguins. And yeah, the first chest in Ice Palace was indeed a small key, so they can get to the right side here without the hook shot, where we may not see any of the items on Zaphod's end here, but we will for Kova when he gets over there. I guess something that may be worth briefly talking about. Normally, when you full clear Ice Palace, you consider not doing the bomb jump, but because neither runner has Cane of Samaria, it is considerably faster to do the bomb jump because you still have to push that block. So yeah, we missed 1 or 2 items from Zaphod, potentially. Kova will get us caught up on what they were. And having finished the right side, Zaphod now makes his way left. There's Master Sword. A much desired and very helpful power upgrade. And no big key means it's in Iced Tea Room. Which also means if you want to check Big Chest, you have to go quite a ways to actually check it. Frequently in the room above the big key room, big chest room, you will see some runners choose to bomb jump over the gap in order to check Ice Tea Room from the top. And in that instance, getting the big key there would have helped immensely. But I think Zaphod forgot he didn't have it, and well, unfortunate for him, he had to leave the big chest behind for now.
So first chest, small key.
Yep, and Master Sword was found in here as well.
Oh, beautiful. See, that makes sense with where the hookshot is. That means that this dungeon does not require hookshot to complete it. Though,
Yep.
Ice Palace is one of those dungeons that has kind of wonky logic, especially since the majority of players do the bomb jump anyway.
Yeah.
So it's hard to think of what the game intends for you to do in this dungeon.
Well, especially since sometimes the logic says you can have Samaria for this, so we'll put the key on Cold Stare.
Yeah, that too. So far, Master Sword 300 rupees. Anything else?
I think those are the only 2 items we know thus far, because this last item that Zaphod is checking in the big chest is either the one we need or the dungeon item. Oh,
almost
boy.
dying to that Freezor. Okay.
It's on Cold Stare.
Well, that's good for Kova then.
Drink up, Zaphod. Which I just occurred to me, he does actually need full magic for Cold Stare, because without bombos, you need a full tank's worth of fire rod to actually melt his ice shell.
Yeah, good thing having that blue potion. I think both players have blue potions at this point, so...
Yeah, just for safety's sake. Master Sword will make Cold Stare a little better than he would have otherwise been. Still gonna be a long fight, though.
Nice bomb jump from Kova to get across there, check this tea room a little bit quicker, then be able to just... Well, unfortunately, no hookshot, so if they want to check the big chest, we'll have to bomb jump back.
Yeah, that is the one problem with doing that bomb jump in this instance. You do need to bomb jump back. Zaphod did end up bomb jumping back. No, looks like Zaphod decided to just drink another tank's worth of potion to use Fire Rod on Cold Stare. Got a few shots in. None of them are dead yet, though. Well, I say that, and 2 just melt after getting hit by Fire Rod a bunch. And down he goes. Money, so no Samaria in ice either.
600 rupees in Ice Palace, though. Dang, that's pretty good.
So, especially since Kova has dipped Swamp, this is gonna key him into the fact that he needs to go to Ped. Or check the Smiths, because technically I think they're another thing in logic that is possible.
All right. This is going to be interesting. So, hookshot in hand, what do you do next? We still need Bombos and Kana Samaria.
Since Zayfa doesn't actually know what Turtle Rock's medallion is yet, I would go up to T-Rock and, check the hookshot cave and all that. And then when there's nothing, you go to Swamp. But there's also a couple other overworld locations that were blocked by myths, namely the Hammer Pigs and the Smiths. Which it actually looks like he may be handling. Well, he's doing the Ped first. He may handle those while he's here, actually.
I think it would make sense, though. If you're going to go all the way up to the pedestal, you faster just to flute back. Flute back to 3, but he might opt to flute elsewhere. And Kova, down to 4 hearts, does have Blue Mail, so these Cold Stare... Oh, he's got a Fairy, he's got a Blue Potion, he's going to use that Blue Potion, or...
He's going to wait for one more hit, because I don't think he can kill him. Now he uses it. Or he's going to go for the Fairy.
Yeah, now I would use it.
Now he's using it. Alright,
and we do have our Ped.
Yep, Zayfa checked this, so he knows what this is. Boing boing. Hookshot acquired.
So now, for Kova, they're kind of out of, they're going to probably do the overworld stuff following this. Turning green pennant, check overworld stuff. So, for them, I think they need Kana Samaria to not... I would say that they need the progression items to not be in these spots. They need to be behind the hookshot, right? I don't know. What do you think?
It would be better for him, I think, if Samaria was behind the hookshot stuff, just so that he doesn't miss the hookshot. At the same time, hookshot last to Gomo Swamp is never a bad thing. But he's already done half of Swamp anyways, so... Yeah, he would be saving too much time with that.
If Zaythot immediately finds Kana Samaria and Bombos, that's go mode, and he'll be able to go mode 3 dungeons. But,
yeah, he won't know immediately that it's go mode because he hasn't actually checked T-Rock, but as soon as he does, he will know.
Mm-hmm. All right, I think Kova's on the pedestal bandwagon at this point. He is going to go ahead and finish Eastern to get the second pendant, and then this is actually really good routing because you're kind of out of very low on options. You're still missing a few items, and
he's using his intuition here based on what he has remaining, and this is the correct play for him.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and there is the Kana Samaria from the blacksmith, so...
That would have potentially been a problem for Kova. So we are just missing the location of Bombos. So Zayfot's going to continue his little check here. But, yeah, you can't do Meyer, so I guess you go up to T-Rock, don't you?
Yeah, and you could do all of T-Rock, and Bombos could be sitting in the end of T-Rock. Which, of course, isn't hookshot required. It could be in hookshot cave.
Tablet.
Could be on Ether Tablet. Or it could be in the back half of Swamp Palace, so... I think for Kova, Bombos in the back of Swamp Palace would be ideal, I think.
Actually, he hasn't checked Meyer yet, I just remembered that. So he will know that Meyer is not an option now.
I'm actually impressed with this play by Kova. I mean, it makes sense since you're already over here to check the green pennant, that you might as well just go ahead and knock this out. And the thing is, I would be so inclined to focus on just doing the newly unlocked overworld locations from the myths. But since he has to go back and look for the second item in Skullwoods anyway, This way he'll be able to finish this dungeon, get the pendant, get the other item in Skullwoods off Mopula, and then boom, pedestal right there, and he's going to have a nice little surprise waiting for him.
Yep. Whether or not he blind pulls it or checks right before pulling is going to be his call, though. Alright, so I imagine Zaphod is going to do pod here, not pod, T-Rock. And another reason, like, in support of doing this is you got the rods very early in this seed. So there's a good chance you do need to do T-Rock for something. Whereas Hookshot you now could have gotten as late as possible.
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough call to make, because T-Rock does have a lot of items, but it's a very long dungeon. But at the same time, for him, Swamp House is also a long dungeon, so...
Yeah, he has
Mire is inaccessible, and these are his only options left aside from checking Ether Tablet and doing Spike Cave.
Yeah, he has to choose between a long dungeon and a long dungeon, so he's going to choose to do a long dungeon. Plus, Go Mode Swamp is much better than Go Mode T-Rock, so if you can Go Mode Swamp, then you are happy.
Exactly. Yeah, because more often than not, you're going to have to full clear all of T-Rock. You might be able to get away with skipping Laser Bridge, depending on where the big key is located, but there's a good chance you're going to have to, full clear it regardless. He could also just find Go Mode here in Hookshot Cave, which I'm going to assume he's going to check as soon as he opens up this dungeon. And can Go Mode Buyer, T-Rock, and Swamp.
Yeah, if Bombos ends up being the immediate find, he knows that he's done and that the lamp was somewhere he already could have gone, potentially.
So the question for Kova is going to be, though, after finishing Moth, getting Hookshot, do they immediately go do the blacksmith stuff, or do they think Swamp Palace is the answer and they go check back a swamp?
I don't know, but at this point, yeah, I have to imagine with what's happening here, Kova may feel like he's behind just because he could have checked the pedestal a while ago.
Mm-hmm. At the same time, though, he did get a lot of the items in Swamp Palace, so I only think there's maybe...
There's only 2 left in Swamp.
Yeah. So it's 2 items there versus, 3 items, Peg Cave, Blacksmith, Purple Chest.
Yeah, because he still can't do anything else without that cane. It's blocking it pretty badly. There's Red Mail and Hookshot.
Nothing in Hookshot Cave. And the nice thing about putting off Moth until now is he gets to do this with a Master Sword instead of Fighter Sword.
Yep, it's a little simpler for him. Brings out the hammer anyways in the event he can't get a good strike on Moth, but doesn't need it. Alright, so there's 6 items in T-Rock technically when you count Mimic Cave, so there's a good chance Bombos is here. I guess that's the other thing too, Zaphod was juggling 6 items versus 6 items. But there was more outside of T-Rock he couldn't grab, which is why he came out here. Alright, Kova gonna go pull Ped. Is he gonna actually check it?
Nah.
Nope, he's just gonna blind pull it.
It's that full committal.
He commits, and thus he is rewarded.
Boing, boing, boing. Immediately uses a hook dash to get out of there.
Yep.
Alright, so we need him to flute the
dashes. Speaking of dashes, burn a dash. Alright, looks like his decision is go finish Swamp. So we're on the hunt for an exploding coin. Where could it be? Zaphod still has a lot of stuff left to check in T-Rock. In fact, I don't think he's found a single item yet, because his first chest was the map. He then found the big key, and then found another key in shop room. So he's gonna have to check this item over here, and has a lot more to go. Laser Bridge gonna be packed this particular seed. And as a reminder, Kova did come in here earlier. The only thing Kova has left to do in this dungeon is head towards Argus and get the remaining 4 chests in the dungeon. There's only 2 items left. If he finds Bombos in here, it'll be pretty big, because there's not many locations left for him where Kane of Samaria could be. And as soon as he narrows down that it's on the Smiths, he can just progress fairly quickly through the remainder of this. The question being, is Bombos in there, or is it in T-Rock? Because other than the bat, I don't think there's actually an ether tablet. There's only a couple locations really that could be outside of these dungeons.
And so far, nothing going on in T-Rock, and we're about to get our last few items left in Swamp House. And if Kova ends up finding Bombos in here, of course, it's basically going to mean a go mode. Well, actually, well, regardless, go mode Kane of Samaria is going to be. Oh, there it is!
Boy.
Oh boy! So Kova actually saving time overall. As long as he doesn't like dive mire looking for Kane of Samaria, this is huge for him.
Yeah, the only downside is the key placement in T-Rock is not the best, as far as we can currently see. And we're not going to see what's in Mimic Cave because of even the big chest here. But they're not going to be required, so it's neither here nor there.
And the other thing for Zaphod is he might just go straight for the back of Swamp Palace and be rewarded with Bombos, but he's still, when he goes back to Swamp House, we'll have to check a few things, and he might do Mire first.
Well, he can't do Mire first.
Oh, right. I'm sorry. He needs Bombos. That's literally what we're looking for.
But Kova may gamble that Kane is in Mire. It's not likely, but it is still possible.
Nice Master Sword Argus fight, going for the double slashes on each of the little puffs.
He's going for the one shot.
Make it count. Ooh, a little too early. Let's try again. Oh, just gonna go for spins.
He's just gonna go for spins at this point. I think it only takes. Nope, he missed again.
Well, the benefit of if Zaphod can find like Tempered Sword or something on Laser Bridge, that might be a bit of a difference maker for him.
Oh yeah, that would be a pretty big one.
And because of the big key location, it looks like Laser Bridge is not even required to actually finish the dungeon when Kova goes there to go mode T-Rock.
Zaphod taking a bit of a spill there trying to do the lasers. I think he got the little safe cave.
Yeah, it's a lot harder if you're gonna do laser skips with the dash. You got to do it from above the laser, otherwise you're gonna get hit like pretty much every time.
Yeah.
So the problem is he's going below it, but he's not like resetting it. So.
Oh, did he actually? Kova, are you actually doing this? Oh boy, this is gonna cost him.
Well, he's got some time to waste, so I guess this isn't too bad. I don't know. That's the thing, is like sometimes players are plagued with the idea of, oh, in this version it's all in the dungeons.
Yeah. This
which
is a bit of a gamble.
Which was partially a culprit of, one of the things that people said a lot about V28.
Yeah.
But, he might be feeling extremely behind because of the late ped check, so he's got to go for the greatest of gambles to try and make up time, but he's unaware of the fact that he's really not too far behind.
Yeah, that Kane is actually just right under his nose back over at the Smiths. And the thing, too, is because we got Mitz so late, he may have forgotten that's the location he still has to do.
He did forget Ether Tablet as well, so it's not too hard to forget things like that. But this might just be a choice. He might just be focusing on this.
Zaphod, meanwhile, is going to be dealing with the very unfun Hammer Trinex.
What are you talking about? Hammer Trinex is loads of fun. At least he has a Master Sword. That makes it a little bit easier. From my brief analysis of this fight, it seems like he's doing pretty well.
Yes, it does appear he's doing fine. Now, 2 keys early in Meyer, no big key in sight.
The nice thing for Kova is, getting that lamp out of Swamp, he'll be able to get through the Dark Room a little bit quicker.
Yeah.
So if Zaphod has a little bit of trouble doing the Dark Room, assuming he does... Well, he can't do Meyer first. If he skips left side Swamp, he'll be missing that lamp, which, at the end of the day, isn't that big of a deal unless you're... at least for these two players, because I know they're both extremely competent with Dark Rooms, as we've already seen in this race.
If Pod was any indication, these two know what they're doing in Dark Rooms. So Zaphod needs to find that Bombos over in Swamp. Kova needs to find that Kana Samaria over at the Blacksmiths. Oh, and he missed the push fire, too. It's always frustrating.
I believe this is a Ether Spike Cave check from Zaphod, so we'll actually get to see some of that. And that's the thing, is like, checking these few extra items, we're still looking for some sword upgrades.
Yeah, any little extra thing that the runner decides to check could find them a sword.
Yeah, and
that's pretty substantial at this point in the race.
The difference between Master Sword and Tempered Sword are pretty big. And there's the second item, so Kova immediately knows that is not in here. He's gonna... I think he's gonna go ahead and find the big key before mirroring out.
He's gonna find the big key first. It's just another heart container on Ether Tablet. So... swords in GT?
I'd say so. At this point, we're fresh out of locations, I think. I think we've checked everything, right?
Yeah, just the bat who can't be checked.
There's the big key. Nice. All right, so if Zaphod goes straight to Swamp, which he has to, because he has no other options, it really depends on if he goes straight to the back or if he checks left side.
Yeah, it's going to be a big difference maker. Kova needs to figure out, meanwhile, that it's Smiths he has to do.
Oh, but he's going to go ahead and check Ether and Spike Cave, so that's going to give Zaphod a little bit more time.
Well, I think Kova already did Spike Cave. It's just Ether Tablet he's left behind, and I think he's now remembering something else that he should be doing instead, which is the Smiths.
Okay, good. And yeah, you're right. He did get that. He did do that Spike Cave a bit earlier. I think it was the first time he was up in Dark Death Mountain. He does have Hookshot Cave available to him now at this point, but
this is also true.
He's, might as well get this out of the way, because then you don't have to come back here ever again.
To that point, actually, the red mail was in Hookshot Cave. Kova may not end up getting that.
That's true. And these players have all been taking quite a bit of a beating, as we've seen throughout this run. Yeah. A lot of the times they've been at low health, despite having.
It's not the biggest difference maker, but it could be the thing that makes or breaks a race, having one less tier of mail against high damage enemies. Zaphod also checking Bombo's tablet.
Especially if we never end up finding a sword upgrade.
Yeah. Master Sword again. Sorry.
We also don't have Cape or Half Magic, so those options to take out Phase 1 and Phase 2 of Ganon are not there yet. So Master Sword Ganon without those two are kind of you can do a lot of damage.
Yeah, Master Sword Ganon's not the worst thing. Those items definitely help, though. So Zaphod will really help his lead here if he goes north immediately.
He
Kova,
skips the left side.
Is about to get go mode.
Yeah, and here's the thing for Kova. He's already got the big keys, so once he goes into Meyer, he just has to go to the back. He gets to go mode T-Rock, which fortunately for him is an actual go mode T-Rock. He can skip Laser Bridge. He might still check a few if he's looking for a sword upgrade, which I don't blame him. But these two players are going to be... I don't know, I feel like it's going to be pretty quick. It really depends on how Zaphod routes this dungeon and then routes Meyer.
Yeah, that's the big difference maker. At that point, it will come down to execution in GT.
This is getting close. This is a good race, guys. This is real good.
Yeah, this is going to end up being very close in the end.
And it's been, especially with that hook shot, it's been a weird one.
Yeah.
Oh, smart play by Kova. I didn't even think about this. He's gonna go ahead and finish Meyer so he can just go T-Rock straight to GT.
Yeah, that's what I would have done in this instance. It's like, Meyer is the last dungeon that's not T-Rock you have to do. Save yourself a trip up the mountain by doing T-Rock last.
Yeah. It's not that I was thinking he was going to go to T-Rock next. I just forgot about it. I was like, oh yeah, Meyer's still a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, despite this being all dungeons, this is looking, depending on how bad G-Tower is, you know, definitely going to be sub 2, maybe around like the 155 mark.
Yeah, that's what it's looking like. It'll especially depend on how these two route the remainder of their dungeons.
Especially if we never find another sword upgrade. Maybe maybe something like 152.
Now, another thing too is... Sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, another thing too is Zaphod is going to have to make one more trip up the mountain to get back up to the tower, so that is a little bit more time he is going to lose in comparison to Kova. And he is going straight to the back.
All right, well, this is going to work out for him. He does... Here's the thing, though. He finds this, he fights Argus. All he has to do is route Meyer, and then it's straight to GT. So it's going to really come down to how Zaphod deals with Meyer Darkroom, and how quick Kova can get through Turtle Rock. I could easily see both these players being 10 to 30 seconds difference going into GT.
Yeah.
But my math is not that great, so we'll see.
Alright, Zaphod going to be in go mode now. And he's going to make his way over. He will probably check this other chest back here for a sword. It's not too long for him to check, but we know it's not one.
Yeah, I think it's always worth checking chests that are just like along the way. I mean, you might as well. Now, I am a little worried for Kova at this point. He needed to stop using his arrows. Oh no.
Oh god, he ran out of arrows?
He only had 10 going into this fight.
Oh boy, that's very bad too, because
yeah.
now to find arrows before he goes up GT.
I mean, fortunately, there are some arrow drops in Turtle Rock, but more importantly, now he has to do hammer, fire rod, or master sword slashes on the big eye, and that takes a long time.
Yeah.
And that's just one of the things about this game that you have to be aware of.
God.
Your resource management. He does still have the ferry.
Well, it's going down now.
So he'll be fine, but this is time loss that he can't afford.
It can only get worse if he dies to the boss. For his sake, let's hope he doesn't.
Yeah, he can take 3 more hits. Well, 3 more hits and he's dead. I believe it does 3 hearts of damage.
Yeah, I believe so. Yep, he can only take 1 more now. Yeah, stop using the hammer, go with the safety poke. There you go.
There we go. Simultaneous crystal grab. Well, wait for it. Simultaneous crystal grab. Close enough.
One grabs the crystal, the other lets it go. Alright, so
set it free.
Zaphod will never find the lamp, but he's fairly aware that it's in Swamp. Just based on the remaining progression.
It's hard not to be at this point because these players have both full cleared the entire game.
Yeah. Zaphod's also going to make sure he grabs a couple more potions before he moves out to Meyer. And for the heck of it, grabs the 10 arrows.
Now, now that I get a closer look at how far apart these players are, I believe Zaphod will be the first one going into G-Tower at this point. Unless he struggles with the Dark Room.
Yeah, Meyer typically a little easier to go through than Z-Rock, just overall. Problem is the big key is not in a very good position. And it'll be interesting to see if Zaphod routes over to that right side chest.
I think it depends on how you route it. I personally will go through that key door, hit the switch, kill the jelly, and then backtrack to go check that middle chest. So it would work out pretty well for me.
Yeah. I would check the left side first, probably, just for convenient routing. I mean, at least no matter which way you do it, you'll always have that big key for the big chest, if you need it.
I'm almost also anticipating Kova might check Laser Bridge anyway, just to look for
A sword, yeah.
a sword upgrade. Maybe not. It all depends. So I'm anticipating this coming down to just a G Tower route.
Yeah.
If there's a difference.
It's going to be quite close in the end. And they haven't done all that much differently this C2. It's not like they were really given a choice with the hook shot on Ped, along with so many other things.
Yeah, and the myths on Pyramid, which was just hilarious because of how available it was to them.
Well, we will have to ask the runners about that and figure out why and how they felt when they saw those.
Mm-hmm. And I just gotta give a shout out to Kova having the instinct to go ahead and just finish Eastern that second time he was over there to check Green Pendant.
Yeah.
Had he not done that and checked, like, you know,
Skull.
Blacksmith and got Kana Samaria and then, you know, went up and full cleared T-Rock or something, you know, this race would not be as close as it is right now.
Yeah.
Now we need Kova to acquire some arrows along the way, because going into GT at 0 is a little scary, especially if it's an early big key. Because if he can skip doing the left side, you know, he's going to miss out on a lot of arrow drops.
Oh, I thought the big key was on the rightmost chest. The middle chest is fine for the big key.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, no, my bad. Then Zephyr will be done with this dungeon very soon.
Mm-hmm. So I think Zaphod's going to be the first one in there. It depends on how his Mire Darkroom goes.
Yeah, this is another set of dark rooms that's fairly difficult to navigate.
Nice chain chomps, getting the iframes.
Yeah, they still hurt a lot.
Zephod gets to the first room. He's got plenty of health to spare as well, so a lot of people will just tank the spike up here a few times to get across. Oh, and Kova walking past an arrow drop. That middle pot right there that he just passed has a 5 arrow drop. If you play NMG a lot, that's one of those that you always get. You need arrows for G Tower. So let's hope we find some more.
Yeah, Kova needs, like, it's not even a matter of wants, he needs arrows. There are enemies in GT that you can only kill with arrows, the Garayas, the mimic-like enemies just before Gauntlet. And you need silver arrows, you'll typically want silver arrows for Ganon too, so he'd like to find a good amount of arrows, but we've definitely found most of the arrow drops already, and wow.
Get those arrows. Nice. Oh, we're good. We're good now.
Yeah, that's about what he needs.
Alright, so Zaphod with plenty of arrows to spare to use on Vitreous. He's going to actually be able to get through this dungeon a lot quicker. Also because of Kova's double dip. So Kova still has a few rooms to go and then still has to finish off Trinex while Zaphod has to, you know, run back up Death Mountain.
Yeah, it's gonna be a mere difference on who gets in GT first. And that's the end of Vitreous. Didn't even get to see it. He died so fast that no one saw the fight. Makes me imagine if it was just one of those like DBZ fights where he's just like warping across the room shooting arrows repeatedly at him. But that is crystal number 7 for Zaphod, so that means it's time to start the big key guessing game. There are...
baby.
Sorry?
I said, oh baby. Sorry, go ahead.
Ah, okay, I thought you were saying more. There are 22 chests in Ganon's Tower where the big key can be located. You can guess the number 1 through 22 in chat for some self-indication as to where it might be. If you are a sub to a speed gaming channel or have donated 250 bits to one of the channels, the bot that was started there will keep track of your answers, and you will, if you guess correctly, it will be saved in the record. Now, it's whoever guesses that number first, or guesses closest to that number first. So, there is some speed element involved. I think I noticed you put in the guess for 20 in chat, Willard.
I sure did. I don't know which 20 I want that to be, but we'll find out. Yeah, look how close this is gonna be. Zaphod's gonna be the first one in here, or going into GT, so we will be basing our count off of Zaphod's routing. But depending on how this Trinex fight goes, it's about a 30-40 second difference, maybe. Just good thing we don't have all that crystal cutscene text dialogue like in the base game. It takes forever. But here's the thing, like, let's say we get early big key. Do you still keep checking to look for a sword upgrade, or do you just hope that the gauntlet has something? Honestly, it's after all of this, it's kind of unfortunate Kova's mishaps in Mire, not only double checking or having to double dip it, but also the misuse of arrows on Vitreous cost him quite a bit of time. This would have been a lot closer. These players going into GT at the same time and having a little bit of struggle on this Trinex fight.
I didn't get to guess yet, by the way. I'm saying 12 before we get caught up in this.
Oh, nice. Chest number 1 and 2 are both small keys, so Zaphod will be taking the right route. If this ends up being a bus and Kova goes left, Mirror out and goes left, this could even things up.
Yeah.
And based on how this G tower is going, I'm gonna change my finish time, my first place finishing time, to more along the 155 mark as opposed to 152.
Yeah.
I know generally if the trip up the gauntlet with Tempered Sword is roughly around 5 minutes if you're quick.
And eyeballing chat was keeping track of when Zaphod entered. I believe Kova is about 90 seconds behind Zaphod currently, which would be this entire right side check that Zaphod is doing.
Tears Tempered Sword.
That is a big difference maker.
Unless
Kova also goes right, or there's one on the left side as well.
Yeah. But this could be a difference of gold and tempered. I feel like Kova's going to go ahead and do the right play, get the 2 chests on the right, but, you know, some players have been just mirroring out and going left regardless of what they get on the right side.
Yep. Bob lives, bombs on the torch, and that was item number 7 in the routing that Zaphod took.
So coming up, we have 8, 9, 10, and 11.
Which means my guess of 12 is now going to be the firebar room.
Half magic.
Good find.
Compass.
Now can you just find the cape?
Gold sword.
Okay, so there's going to be a gold temper difference.
And a small key.
Or
it looks like Kova's going right as well, which is going to give Zaphod that 90-minute lead going up the gauntlet. Yeah, unless it ends up being like a tile room or something. Well, no, even if it is tile room, same thing. Unless Kova goes for the full right play. And it's at Bob's chest or Ice Armos. And there is chest number 12, our actual single arrow.
Well, I called something at least.
Did I say 90-minute? Oh, man.
I believe you did, yes.
Dude, this race is over. Everyone go home. 90 seconds, excuse me.
Go mode at 18 minutes.
Kova having a little bit of trouble here.
Yeah.
Dealing with those Gibdos. They can kind of get in the way, and pretty low on magic as well.
And I'm not sure how far into this Zaphod is now. He may have opened chest 13. Maybe even opened chest 14 through 17. But,
he might be a Ganon already. Who knows?
Who knows? Okay, he did check 12 and 13, but he's still going, so he did not find the key. 14.
Chest 14, alright.
came back just in time to see that.
Thank goodness. Those people putting in their guesses would be having a bit of an uproar. They didn't get to see that.
Yep,
So,
they would.
Zayfod heading up the gauntlet roughly around the 149-50 mark.
And we'll have to see who won the game in chat as well. Closest guess was 13 by Dark Lock Lux. So,
GGs.
congrats. GG's.
You tried. Alright, so here on out, it's purely execution at this point.
Yep, Kova is going to have to make up time through execution. And it's a lot to make up.
Yeah, and like you said earlier, the missing of the red mail from Hookshot Cave, it's going to be a slight difference in defense.
Yep, and neither of us is going to be finding Cape unless they decide to check these upper chests for it, because we have so little places left this cave could be.
Mm-hmm. I mean, what do we got?
The rest of lower floor and this upper floor, basically.
Yeah, that's it. There's nothing else.
And Magic Bat.
Oh, and Magic Bat. I don't anticipate either player checking extra chests along the way, to be quite honest. Silver's Gold Sword. Oh, and Zayfod going for Ether Strats. A little bit slower, but it's faster than trying to chase down those Stalfos if they give you trouble.
Yeah, another thing he could have done was the half magic fire rod and just shot them with that.
Oh, there was the cape. It was just 13. All right.
Oh, so Zayfod does have that. Never mind.
We're
fine.
good.
We are absolutely good. He does have that, right? We can see on the next pause.
Yeah, I can't imagine him going left side and not checking that chest.
Looks like Kova's gonna check the remainder of them over here in Rando Room. Uncle's Bomb Drop was there along with Magic Powder.
Powder's a nice one to have if you don't have any other health refills. I don't know if Kova... I know Kova used a blue potion on Trinex, so that might actually help them out quite a bit.
Yeah, and Zayfod, we know, has some potions, so he's not too concerned. But that powder would have been nice for a refill at the top here.
Oh, for sure. Kova entering around the 152 mark, so roughly about a minute behind. No. Yes. No. 2 minutes.
Yeah,
Minute
he's
40.
behind by a fair bit here. He's counting on Zayfod to mess up something in order to make up a bit of time, I feel.
Oh, Kova down to a heart already. I think he still... No, he does not, because he used that fairy against Vitreous.
Vitreous took his fairy, but and actually, because he skipped Laser Bridge, there was a bug net on Laser Bridge.
Yeah, so we might see him use the... go for the safety bonk to grab the 2 fairies and the magic refill in this next room here. Which I don't blame him. Going through the gauntlet at 1 heart is terrifying.
Yeah.
It's a 1-hit KO, essentially.
That is the true gauntlet test. Can you OHKO through gauntlet?
And Zayfod, plenty of keys, plenty of resources. He has no use checking any of these chests along the way. So this is, at this point, Zayfod's race to lose. It's going to be barring some sort of catastrophe on his end.
Come to think of it, we found every major item to see, didn't we?
I think so. We even found all the shields.
Yeah.
Both our players only picking up the 1, but we did see the other ones. Yeah, at this point, I'd say it'd be pretty hard for either player to have any sort of major mess up other than despawning G-Tower. Gold Sword and Silvers and even Cape kind of make Ganon a cakewalk. You can even skip Torch Glitch and you're fine. And that's kind of the product of a full clearing the game.
Yep, Zayfod here just has Aga 2 and Ganon left. I don't like this start on Aga, but he actually got a triple off of it.
Zayfod looking extremely strong at this point. At double triple! Wow! Alright. Alright, I see you. Mr. Top 8 of the fall secondary tournament.
Yep. And Kova having a little trouble with Lambo too here. Missing arrow shots and having to use Gold Sword to deal with the remainder.
Yeah, see, when I go into this Landmula fight, I like to stall in the previous room so they all spawn at the same time, and then just charge a spin, like in the center of it. It'll hit all three of them at least once, and then there's a good chance you could either slash again to hit all three again, or Fire Rod to kill them all in one cycle real quick.
That makes sense, yeah.
It's really stupid, but if it works, it works. So. But anyway, Zaphod on the Ganon fight. It's just 6 quick slashes for Phase 1 and Phase 2, and then 6 slashes on Phase 4, depending on how many warps we get. And Silver Arrows in hand, we'll probably be seeing a double, maybe a triple, depending on how he does this. You'll see players like intentionally skip the torch glitch to ensure that they get a double or even a triple.
Yeah.
And once again, Kova down to 2 hearts, has to be extremely careful finishing out the rest of this. Even a single laser shot would be the end of him.
Yeah, if he had gotten attacked by that Fire Rod knocked into the pit, that would have been lights out as well. Grabbing that extra heart there, because the lasers do 2 hit hearts of damage if they hit you. So
I believe
if he does get tagged, which he did, he'll still be alive, but he really has to be careful.
Exactly.
Yep, Zaphod getting his Fire Rod shot blocked by Ganon's big body. But does get a double on the initial hit. That looks like another double, actually.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, no, he's just dead. I guess I may have missed him shoot him initially.
Yeah, I think he got the first one, like, right at the beginning. But that's going to do it for us, guys, over here on SG5. Zaphod, once he walks through that door, he will be our victor. And moving on at 3-0. And what a race. Wow.
He was 1 hour, 56 minutes, and 17 seconds.
GG's to him. And yeah, you got to be feeling pretty bummed when you're, at Boulder'n 2, and you see that dot done. You're like, ah, man, so close.
That also looks like he may be raring to go for an interview here. Already over there in the waiting room.
Well, let's bring him in.
There he is. Hey, hello there, Zaphod. GG's, and congrats on winning that.
Thank you.
Odd seed.
Tell us how you feel.
Well, actually felt pretty good, actually.
Yeah, it seemed like a good seed for you. A nice double, triple on Aga, by the way.
Thanks. That's the first time I've ever done that, so I'm kind of a little pumped about that.
It's a nice first time in round 3 of this tournament. Your opponent just now finishing Aga 2, so it was incredibly close.
Ooh, it was pretty close then.
Yeah, you both got
I'm
tripped
assuming
up.
the lamp was in left side swamp.
Correct.
Yes.
I thought so.
Yeah, the biggest difference maker in this seed was your route. The first initial break-off was the difference of routing as soon as you guys got to the Dark World. Kova going up and doing Skull Woods first, while you going into Thieves Town, which allowed you to get the sword, kill Mothula, and then check Pedestal. So Kova continued playing without that knowledge of the hookshot on the Pedestal. Still managed to make the play to go get that later on, after finishing Ice Palace, went ahead and finished Eastern, and then finished Moth. So later on, it really came down to where was Bombos, and Kova had already actually made the play into Swamp Palace prior to checking Pyramid Fairy, or both you guys getting the extremely late Titan that's just sitting on the pyramid. How'd you feel about that one?
Yeah.
That was a little bit annoying, but it was not that big of a deal, which means I was planning to go into Swamp if the mitts weren't there anyway, because I assumed that there would be something in Swamp, and, well, turns out there was something in Swamp, just not that.
Yeah.
Not that.
Basically, at that point, mitts had to either be in Swamp or they had to be Pyramid Fairy. Like, we were out of options. There was nothing left to do. So, and we were expecting them to be in Swamp, but Kova only finding the lamp in the vanilla big key chest, and we had actually forgotten about Pyramid as a location, and they were just sitting right there, which just made it's pretty funny. But yeah, Kova just finishing off Ganon will also be finishing sub 2 as well. I'd say towards the end, it was execution that kind of played a part in who took this Ganon's Tower. Kova having unfortunate misuse of resources, running out of arrows against Vitreous and having to resort to Master Sword slashes to finish off the big eyeball. And Zayvat having a little bit better execution throughout Ganon's Tower. That red mail really coming into play for you, which Kova missed, missing Hookshot Cave.
Speaking of which, speaking of the Master Sword, I remember having to do Trinex with just the Master Sword, and considering that both the other swords and half magic were in GT, I thought, wait a minute, weren't we supposed to have either half magic or another sword by that time? Or am I mistaken?
For Trinex?
Yeah, I thought you needed at least Tempered Sword or Master Sword and half magic. Or I could be mistaken.
You might be mistaken.
Yeah, I believe it's just Master Sword.
Okay.
I think that's the bare minimum.
By the way, Kova's SRTV time was 1 hour, 59 minutes, and 39 seconds.
It's about 3-minute difference. You guys are roughly 90 seconds apart going into G Tower. So, watching that back, you can see Kova had to make a few extra stops along the way and even checking a few extra chests in, like, Rando Room. Finding the magic powder in Rando Room as well.
That's where that was.
Yeah, but I will say that the blue mail, the difference in mail actually helped or made a difference going up the gauntlet. Kova taking a lot of extra hits, having to stop and get the safety hearts, and whatnot. So, but yeah, just it was a wild run, very linear seed for the most part for both you guys, coming down to these like gatekeeper items that unlocked the rest of the game, and be interesting to see how this would have played out had you guys both made the pyramid play like right at the beginning as soon as you got to Dark World. I believe both you guys went Hype Cave and then west to Digging Game, as opposed to going east to Pyramid, Catfish, etc. So,
yep. Anyway, I'm really sorry about the connection issues I've been having. Again.
It's all right. We didn't actually miss anything important other than we missed seeing the cape in G Tower on your side. So when we saw it on Kova's side, we were like, oh, that's where that was.
Yeah, between both of you, we actually found every major collectible. You both left behind the shields. The lamp was left side swamp, and powder was also in GT, same rando room area. And then you found that net on Laser Bridge.
Yeah, I really need to practice laser skip more.
Yeah, the one thing I was noticing, which when you watch this back, if you're walking from the safety door and you trigger the lasers from below the laser spot, you have to go past it until they stop, then go back down. If you do it from above, you'll never get hit, but if you try and dash from below, you'll always get hit. That's
good to know.
Yeah, one little thing. Kova apparently does not have a microphone, so will not be able to come in for a chit chat. But so I just want to say GG's on an excellent race. You guys about 90 seconds apart going into G Tower. You'll have to watch this back. It was a pretty good back and forth for the most part.
Yeah. Also, did you guys enjoy your 3 Bs?
The 3 B-Torps.
Yes, I did. I will sell them to the ball vendor. The other 2, if Ice-Raw didn't have the $300 there.
Yeah.
We saw B-Strats on Mothula. We saw B-Strats at Mini Moldorn Cave. It was a beautiful seed.
Yeah.
Brought to you by the letter B.
B. But yeah, that was a great race, and Zayfod now moving on to 3-0. We were talking actually earlier about both your all's performance in the secondary tournament, and was surprised to see that you were both actually in the same like grouping in the brackets, both being eliminated by the eventual runner-up Zertnal, but could have ended up facing together in top 8. So it was exciting to see you guys come back and race again, or to be racing again in the spring tournament. How are you feeling about your chances just overall compared to the fall tournament?
Well, I'm still not sure. There's still some really good people up in here. I mean, yeah.
I don't blame you. There's actually, if you look at the field, like the 3-0s are scary, the 2-1s are scary, and there's even some heavy hitters in the 1 and 2 groupings. So and there's also a lot of like newer players taking some names. So welcome to Randomizer. Yeah, overall, it was a great run. GG's to both you guys. Thank you guys so much for putting on such a great show. If you have any final words about this seed or just about anything at all, feel free.
Well, thank you for restreaming my race again, and take care.
Thank you so much.
And yeah, good luck to you too there, Kova. The 2-1 group is a little scary too.
Yeah, I'm excited to see how you guys perform throughout the rest of the tournament. Hoping to see both you guys make brackets. That'd be... You guys could make brackets and face off again later on. It'd be perfect.
Yeah.
But yeah, as always, thank you guys so much for watching. Got to give a huge shout out to Dark Replica for being our tracker today, keeping us fresh on all that sweet knowledge. Of course, huge shout out to my co-commentator, Buckshot Boo 24. Thank you so much. This was a pleasure.
Yep, it was a great time. And make sure you give the runners a follow because they did a great job this race.
Yeah, if you guys like what you saw, feel free to support the runners or anyone involved in today's race in any way you see fit. I prefer Twitter followers. If you're going to do that, hit me. No, I'm kidding. Actually, I'm not kidding, but I'm joking at this point. Anyway, Speed Gaming 5. Make sure to follow them. This is where the party's at. Yeah, thank you to the Speed Gaming folk for putting on this restream for us, and thank you all for watching. We will see you in the next one. Before I go, though, let's go ahead and take a quick look at that schedule. I would be surprised to not see nothing but Link to the Past Randomizer going on across all the channels.
Yeah,
right now... Oh, go ahead.
None right now, but an hour ago started on Speed Gaming 3, and actually 2 of them. Well, another one started on Link to the Past Randomizer 4 as well. But pretty much every hour from here on out throughout the day, there's probably going to be another race starting. So keep your eyes peeled on the Speed Gaming and the Link to the Past Randomizer channels and catch them as they come up. Or over on Speed Gaming 1 at the top of the hour is going to be some Rockman 2. You can also go watch that. All right, guys. This has been a blast. I'll see you in the next one. Later, guys.